Good evening, councillors. We will commence the meeting with the prayer. May we, the councillors of Ku-ring-gai, always be aware that decisions we make affect the daily lives of those we represent. May we make these decisions with knowledge and goodwill, respecting the views of others, and may we show ourselves worthy to follow in the footsteps of those who have protected the special qualities of Ku-ring-gai for over 100 years. Amen. On behalf of Council, I recognise the traditional custodians of the land and pay tribute to Elders past and present. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the August Ku-ring-gai Council meeting. Due to the COVID-19 situation, this council meeting will be held remotely. Before the meeting begins, I will outline a few points regarding this evening's proceedings. During the meeting, councillors will appear on screen. Staff will only appear on screen if questions are directed to them by the council. Tonight's meeting will be live streamed on the council website at www.krg.nsw.gov/livestream. The webcast of the meeting will remain on the website. The live stream will commence once the Mayor is seated and will cease if Council goes into a confidential session where the public and the press are excluded, pursuant to Section 10A of the Local Government Act. Council meetings remain open to the public online, but speakers now address the Council through the monthly public forums and not at Council meetings. Again, due to the COVID-19 situation, the public forum preceding this council meeting did not occur as normal. However, the public were encouraged to send in video, audio or written submissions. For more information about addressing council during COVID-19, please visit our website at www.krg.nsw.gov.au. All present tonight must refrain from engaging in disorderly conduct, publicly alleging breaches of the Council's Code of Conduct, or making other potentially defamatory statements. Councillors and council staff must declare and manage any conflicts of interest they may have in relation to any item of business that is the subject of the meeting this evening on the agenda. So I now commence with apologies. Are there any councillor apologies? No. General Manager, are there any staff apologies?
There are none, Madam Mayor.
Councillors, are there any declarations of interest? Councillor,
yes, I do. Yeah, I've got two.
Yes.
Okay. So GB2 for Service New South Wales, new council partnership agreement. So a non-pecuniary significant. I currently work for Service New South Wales. Okay.
Thank you.
And GB18. Okay, the proposed renaming of Athena Avenue Reserve St Ives. So a non-pecuniary but a significant. I'm a close friend of the resident. So for both of these, I will not be voting. Okay, thank you.
Are there any other declarations? If not, General Manager, are there any staff declarations?
Madam Mayor and councillors, I'd like to declare a declaration in relation to C1, which is the General Manager's Performance Review, July 2021, and note that myself and staff will not be present in the meeting for consideration of that item.
Thank you. Are there any other staff declarations? No. General Manager, documents circulated to councillors.
Madam Mayor and councillors, there are the Greens and the late agenda. Starting with the late agenda, GB20, supplementary report to item GB4, Mayor and Deputy Mayor elections in September 2021, the most recent advice from the OLG. And in relation to the Greens, late councillors' information, item GB14, consideration of submission, Ku-ring-gai DCP, memo from Director Watson dated the 9th of August. GB17, St Ives Showground and Precinct Lands Draft Plan of Management, A memo from the Director, Strategy and Environment dated the 13th of August. In relation to the same item, a memo from the Manager, Urban and Heritage Planning dated the 16th of August. And in relation to GB6, Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference 2021, registration, voting delegates and calls for motions, a memo from the Manager, Governance and Corporate dated the 16th of August.
Thank you. General Manager, could you also list the reports to be considered in closed meeting?
Madam Mayor and Councillors, the item I alluded to earlier, C1, General Manager's Performance Review, July 2021 Report and Attachment 1, and GB12, Request for Quotation 31, 2021, St Ives Cultural and Environmental Education Centre, Detailed Design, just Attachment 1.
Councillors, I seek a motion that those items remain in confidential. That's moved Councillor Shadow, seconded Councillor Pettit. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Councillors, I seek a motion for confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting of Council held on the 20th of July 2021. Moved Councillor Shadow, seconded Councillor Spencer. All those in favour? That is unanimous. We move to minutes from the Mayor, and I will commence with MM1, which is the valet for Jonathan Coleman, OAM, 29th of February 1956 to the 9th of July 2021. On behalf of the Council and the Ku-ring-gai community, I present this tribute to a much-loved entertainer and former Ku-ring-gai resident who passed away recently. Jonathan Coleman was born in Hackney in London in 1956 and had a long media career in television and radio, both here in Australia and Britain, most recently working as a presenter on the Channel 9 program Studio 10. During his long career, Jonathan, well known as Jono, presented radio shows on the youth network 2JJ, which became Triple J, Triple M, the BBC, Virgin Radio, Heart 106.2, the Australian Radio Network, WSFM, and community radio, including Northside Radio. His entertainment career started in television as a presenter on children's program Simon Townsend's Wonderworld. He continued to appear on the screen and stage as his radio career blossomed, including stints on Sunrise, Hey Hey It's Saturday, Channel 7 program Have a Go, and Channel 9's Wavelength. Jonathan also narrated the children's television show The Koala Brothers and released 4 singles and a comedy album. In 2015, he was awarded a Medal of the Order of Australia, OAM, for his services to the broadcast media industry and the community. Although well known for his work in the entertainment industry, less well known was Jonathan's deep commitment to a wide range of community causes. His community work included presenting on the radio station 2RPH, Radio for the Print Handicapped, where newspapers are read out loud on air. Jonathan was also an enthusiastic supporter of the School for the Deaf and Blind, Schizophrenia Research Institute, Variety Clubs Australia, Carers Australia, the Australia Day Council, and the Movember Foundation. He lived with his family in Linfield from 2007 to 2018, and after buying his Beaconsfield Parade home, took an active part in a protest march to New South Wales Parliament House to fight the government's decision to build more homes and high-rise blocks in the Ku-ring-gai area. In 2012, Jonathan was one of the drivers of the Bradfield Comedy Debate, featuring other television personalities such as Annabelle Crabb. The Bradfield Comedy Debate was an annual event presented by member for Bradfield Paul Fletcher and the Linfield Rotary Club. Jonathan became the Marion Street Theatre's founding patron in 2016 and vigorously promoted the theatre's reopening, as well as comparing the theatre's 50th birthday in the same year. At the birthday party, Jonathan told those attending, "As a long-time Linfield resident, I spent many evenings at Marion Street Theatre. I even interviewed Ruth Cracknell there on stage for Simon Townsend's Wonderworld in the 1980s and was so upset when it closed." Jonathan was a presenter, Master of Ceremonies for the Variety Clubs Australia between 1982 and 2010, and from 2008 was an ambassador for Nordhoff Robbins Music Therapy Australia. He was chosen as an Australia Day ambassador on no less than 5 occasions from 2005, and in 2009 was ambassador for Carers Australia. Other community projects dear to his heart were the preservation of the Blue Gum High Forest, the Jewish House Passover Drive on behalf of Ku-ring-gai's Jewish seniors, and St Edmund's School at Wahroonga. Jonathan Coleman lost his battle with prostate cancer at the relatively young age of 65. He was much loved by a huge number of people in the entertainment industry and in the many charities and causes that he supported. When asked recently by his wife how he wanted to be remembered, he said, "For doing a good deed every day," which says much about what motivated Jonathan Coleman. On behalf of the Council and our community, I express my sincere condolences to his wife Margot and their children Oscar and Emily on the loss of a very generous and gifted man. May Jonathan rest in peace. I move A, that the mayoral minute be received and noted. B, that we stand for a minute's silence to honour Jonathan Coleman, OAM. And C, that the Mayor write to Mr Coleman's family and enclose a copy of this mayoral minute. Are there any other councillors who wish to comment on the minute? Councillor Shatto.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for this opportunity to add my voice to yours and to those of the many others who've spoken publicly and privately in appreciation of the life of Jonathan Coleman, or Jono, as he was affectionately called, as you mentioned. Jono was a larger-than-life figure in every possible way. His signature gait is instantly recognisable as his irrepressible sense of fun. How I loved to spot him ducking into Christoph's French patisserie on the highway at Linfield, or popping into that delightful and aptly named Deli Delish. So when it came to choosing a foundation patron for the Save Marion Street Theatre initiative in 2016, Jono was the runaway choice. The very embodiment of generosity and good humour, he was an integral part of our community, as you have indicated in your mayoral minute, Madam Mayor. Further, he belonged to the community of theatre in this LGA and in this country, and his loss just a month ago is deeply felt by many whose lives he touched. We could all certainly do with a bit of Jono humour today as we struggle through these dark COVID days. He was one of those people whose presence could light up a room, and who will ever forget the luscious cake, positively fizzing with candles, that he produced for Marion Street Theatre's 50th birthday in 2016. Sadly, Jono won't be with us to celebrate the theatre's reopening, but as that wonderful local Australian writer Wendy Blaxland wrote recently, "We will remember you, Jono. Your effervescent enthusiasm for our theatre always raised our spirits high. Valet and thank you. And thank you, Madam Mayor."
Thank you, Councillor Shatto, and I will remember that wonderful celebration at the Marion Street Theatre and that fabulous cake that Jono organised and that I was able to help cut with him.
Indeed.
So many wonderful residents and councillors there that day, lit up by his attendance, and also, of course, at that march to Parliament House when we were faced with a lot of high density threats at the time. Again, his positive attitude was shining through on that day as well, and there'd be many residents such as Mrs. Cowley who attended that rally with him speaking at it out the front of Parliament House, and we were very pleased to have him join us on that occasion. So he was always one to step up. If there are no further speakers on this item, I will put that mayoral minute. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Would you please stand for a minute's silence? Please be seated. Councillors, we now move to petitions. Are there any? None. We move to RC1, minutes of the Ku-ring-gai Traffic Committee, 5th of July 2021. Is there a motion, please? Moved Councillor Spencer, seconded Councillor Greenfield. All those in favour? That is unanimous. General business. I now invite councillors to nominate any items on the agenda that they wish to have a site inspection. None. I now invite councillors to nominate any items on the agenda that they wish to adopt in accordance with the officer's recommendation, allowing for minor changes without debate. Councillor Nye.
Councillor Nye, you're muted.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that. I've got a minor amendment for GB6, Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference registration. Can it please be shown up on the screen? It is pretty consistent with what we've done the last 4 years. So once we see it on the screen, I can read it out. So point A, any councillors interested in attending the 1 hour annual conference to be held on Monday, 29 November 2021, notify the General Manager by Monday, 30th of August 2021. Point B, the voting delegates in respect to the 1 hour annual conference to be held on Monday, 29 November 2021 will be the first 6 councillors who advise the General Manager after the meeting that they wish to be a voting delegate at the annual conference. Point C, the voting delegates in respect to the LGNSW board election to be held in November will be the first 6 councillors who advise the General Manager after the meeting that they wish to be a voting delegate at the LGNSW board election. And point D, a report providing details of any proposed motions be referred to council at the relevant ordinary meeting of council in 2022 for approval prior to submission to LGNSW.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Spencer. Thank you. All those in favour? That is unanimous, I believe. Thank you. So are there any other items? Yes, Councillor Spencer.
I was just wondering if I should attempt to move some of the GB items.
Without debate, you can do that.
So GB1, there has to be a slight amendment. The wording should be that council approves to the effect the request for funding of $28,000 and so on, if that is acceptable.
Is there a seconder for that?
I'd second that.
Councillor Shadow is seconding that. So I will put that motion. All those in favour? That is unanimous.
Madam Mayor, for the purpose of clarity, if staff could read out the amended wording, please.
Certainly.
Thank you.
We can get it up on the screen.
It is just to affirm the
Yep.
request.
There it is. Happy with that, Councillor Spencer?
I was just wondering, what about the rest of the wording? Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I don't think we need anything else. That's what was moved, so.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
Thank you. Is everyone happy with that?
Yes.
Yes, that's carried.
Thank you. I'll try GB2, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Officers. Oh, sorry. There's a conflict.
Yes.
Councillor Kay needs to be put in the waiting room.
Yes, we'll just wait for a moment.
We're good to go. So I would move as recommended.
Moved as printed. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Clark. All those in favour? That is unanimous. And we'll just get Councillor Kay back in the room. Okay. Councillor Spencer, do you have more?
Yes, thank you. GB3 as printed. Officer's recommendation.
Is there a seconder for a seconded? Councillor Shadow? All those in favour? That is unanimous.
So GB, sorry, are we good? GB4?
Yes.
So GB4 has a supplementary, which is GB20. Can we put those two together? General Manager's advice, please.
Yeah, yes, you can, Madam Mayor.
And so that will be as officer's recommendation, meaning a show of hands.
For GB4 and GB2 as printed to merge.
20, was it?
I think that's, yeah, correct, GB20. So merge the wording from GB20 into GB4 as printed. That's seconded by Councillor Kelly. All those in favour? That is unanimous.
So should I try GB5 as printed, officer's recommendation?
Seconded by Councillor Shadow. All those in favour? That is unanimous.
GB7, officer's recommendation as printed.
Seconded by Councillor Pettit. All those in favour? That seems to be unanimous. Thank you.
GB8, officer's recommendation as printed.
Seconded by Councillor Kelly. All those in favour? That is unanimous.
GB9, officer's recommendation as printed.
Seconded by Councillor Pettit. All those in favour? That is unanimous.
GB10, officer's recommendation as printed.
Seconded by Councillor Clark. All those in favour? That is unanimous.
GB11, officer's recommendation as printed.
Seconded by Councillor Nye. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you.
GB12, there's a conflict, is it? Oh, no, sorry. No, not GB12.
Not on this one.
Yeah. So GB12, officer's recommendation is printed.
Withdrawn.
Withdrawn by Councillor Chateau.
GB13, officer's recommendation is printed.
Seconded by Councillor Kay. All those in favour? That is unanimous.
GB14, officer's recommendation.
Seconded by Councillor Clark. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you.
GB15, officer's recommendation.
Seconded by Councillor Kay. All those in favour? That is unanimous.
GB16, officer's recommendation as printed.
Seconded by Councillor Smith. Seconded by Councillor Smith. All those in favour? That is unanimous.
GB17, officer's recommendation.
Withdrawn.
Withdraw that.
Withdrawn.
Might I just say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I meant to withdraw 17 and not 12. I do apologise.
Okay, that's all right. In that case, Councillor Spencer, would you?
Yes,
like to go
GB12.
12? Yes.
GB12, officer's recommendation.
Seconded by Councillor Kelly. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you.
There's a conflict for GB18.
There is. We'll just wait for Councillor Kay to be allowed into the waiting room there. Okay.
GB18, officer's recommendation.
Seconded by Councillor Chateau. All those in favour? That is unanimous. We'll just get Councillor Kay back. Okay. Councillor Spencer.
So GB19, officer's recommendation as printed.
Seconded by Councillor Kelly. All those in favour? That is unanimous.
Now, Madam Mayor, may I ask if we could consider C1 and then come back to NM1?
We can, except it's a confidential item.
That's right, yes.
We can deal with it either by going into confidential, or if there's no debate on it, then...
I do not know if there's any debate. I just need to seek clarification on the wording, that's all. Happy to move as recommended.
Let me just get that out. Let me just check. Yes, so councillors, that is on page 4 of the confidential attachment you would have received. The recommendation is there. So Councillor Spencer is moving that as printed, if I understand correctly, without...
Yes, it's just that the recommendation B is a bit ambiguous.
Well, if we want to discuss the actual wording of it, we'd have to go into confidential to do that. And we either do that now or at the end of the meeting.
So I'm not sure what the others feel like, but I'm not intending to debate this. I just need to seek clarification because it's a little bit ambiguous, that's all.
Well, we
Perhaps some wording change if we go into confidential now or we go into confidential afterwards.
Well, what would you prefer to move at this point, Councillor Spencer?
I'm happy to move as recommended.
No, did you want to move to go into confidential now?
Oh, I see. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yes, may I?
You may. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Greenfield. All those in favour? That is unanimous. We will now go into confidential and we'll just wait while the staff organise that.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We are back in open session now, and I will just announce that in relation to C1, the General Manager's Performance Review July 2021, the Council resolved as per the printed recommendation.
Madam Mayor, sorry, point of order.
Yes.
If you could follow that up, not tonight, but then the debate, the original amended version, and then the one that was passed, and who voted on what.
I will be putting that in my record of the minutes, yes, for the staff. Yep.
Thank you. No, that's good. That's Google.
Madam Mayor, sorry, just to clarify, my understanding of how the minutes work is that we don't record the process of debate in final printed minutes. Only the final resolution and vote record is recorded.
But I will give the
of course
staff the information. It won't go in the printed business papers.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillors, that takes us back to the item remaining in the GB items, 17, St Ives Showground and Precinct Lands Draft Plan of Management, post-exhibition consideration of submissions, and I seek a motion, please.
Madam
Councillor Smith.
Madam Mayor, I'd just like to move a couple of additions to the Council's officer recommendation.
Yes, thank you.
Yep. I would like to, Michael Wern might be able to bring up the wording for me, just in relation to the Council recognise the preparation of the conservation management plans in GB 17. If I could just ask Michael to bring that up for me.
Yes, the staff are getting that on the screen.
Yes, so the Council recognised that the preparation of the conservation management plans and heritage listing of built structures at the St Ives Showground are a high priority and modify the plan of management action plan as required to reflect this. That's A. B, that Council immediately commence the preparation of conservation management plans and subsequently consider pursuing heritage listing where appropriate, with funding to be identified in the first quarter budget review. So if I could please have that addition added.
Yes, so that would be additional clauses to add to that. The staff,
correct.
The staff,
to their existing.
You can just see that the staff are adding those in now.
Yep.
We'll wait to get that all up on the screen.
Can you clarify Councillor Smith's moving A to E of the memo from the memo?
Yes, yep. Staff have just asked me to clarify that you are moving A to E as per the staff memo as well.
That's correct. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Is that all up there as, yep. As desired? Yes. So, councillors, you will see that F and G have been added as per the words that Councillor Smith has sought, in addition to the printed A, B, C, D, E that you already had. Is there a seconder for that, please? Councillor Clark is seconding that. Councillor Smith, would you like to speak to your motion, please?
I've got an amendment.
Well,
I had my hand up. Sorry, maybe you didn't see it.
Well, we don't deal with an amendment before the mover of a motion and a seconder has had an opportunity.
Oh, sorry. Ahead of myself.
Yep, that's all right. Councillor Smith.
Yes, Madam Mayor. I would just I wanted to move this forward, considering that these items have This has been identified to be looked at being heritage listed in the past, and it's been something that unfortunately we haven't moved on at this stage, and they are going to rack and ruin. So I think it's very important for the community of St Ives and for Ku-ring-gai for that matter, that we bring this forward and we act on this urgently, because it's only going to be a matter of time before what we've got there currently will be lost forever. So these are the reasons. I think it's pretty straightforward, and I hope that I can get people's support this evening for that.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Let's first, of course, thank Councillor Smith for bringing these amendments forward. I know he's been a big protector of heritage in Ku-ring-gai alongside yourself, Mayor Anderson. Look, I think obviously it's very important to protect heritage in our local government area, and at this site, it's no different. So just to echo what Councillor Smith said, I think that if we don't make a move now, we could soon lose these sites. So yeah, I think it's a good motion to be going forward with. So thank you, and thank you, Councillor Smith.
Might I just see if the wording again is up on the screen?
Yes, we'll organise that.
Yes.
Get the wording back up. So the only thing, Councillor Chateau, that is different to what is in the business papers is F and G as two additional.
Yes, thank you. Oh, that's better. And somebody making that larger, I couldn't read it before.
Yes, oh, okay, there we go.
Oh, that's much better. Thank you.
Very large.
Yes, thank you.
So perhaps I'll just read it again so everybody's clear. That Council recognise that the preparation of the conservation management plans and heritage listing of built structures at the showground are a high priority, and modify the plan of management action plan as required to reflect this. And that Council immediately commence the preparation of conservation management plans and subsequently consider pursuing heritage listing where appropriate, with funding to be identified in the first quarter budget review.
Thank you.
And the rest is as per the printed business papers A, B, C, D, E. Now, before we go on to speakers on this, we have an amendment to be put by Councillor Kay.
Yeah, so if Director Governance could, I think they actually have a copy of the amendment to be able to put up on the screen.
All right, we'll just get that up for you.
Okay, yep.
Do you want to read that out?
Yep. Yeah, that's fine. So A, that Council defers the report on the draft St Ives Showground and Precinct Lands Plan of Management until the October ordinary meeting of Council to allow more time for councillors to consider the submissions. B, that in the interim, a briefing be held with councillors on issues raised in the submissions.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Spencer. Councillor Kay, you wish to speak to your amendment?
Yeah, I can be quite brief on this because it is quite self-explanatory. So this is about good governance at the end of the day. I have acknowledged that there was a number of submissions that came after the closing date. I believe maybe I could get some clarity from Director Watson, but I believe there were approximately 15 additional submissions. Some of these submissions are quite detailed. So when you actually look through some of them, for one, for instance, has 23 suggestions alone on the one submission. So all I'm asking for today is extra time for us to consider those submissions and also to come back and have a briefing by council staff with those additional submissions and adjustments, because I believe it's been acknowledged by council staff that there needs to be some adjustments. So if those adjustments obviously could be made, brought back to us as council staff, as councillors, that would give us the extra time there. So it's just purely a deferment in time.
Thank you. Councillor Spencer is seconded. Do you wish to speak on this?
No, I reserve my rights. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I might at this point, because Councillor Kay posed a question, I think, to Director Watson. Perhaps if he can respond to the question at this point.
Through you, Madam Mayor, as councillors would be aware, the report was published on Tuesday last week, or the week of, I think, what did it be, the 2nd? I think it was the 2nd. And the exhibition proper closed on Friday the 6th. Now, we did have about 15 submissions come in those 4 days, and all of those have been addressed in the supplementary material provided to council last Friday. There was another submission which inadvertently has gone directly to a member of staff rather than through the ordinary channels for lodging submissions, and that was the one that was the subject of a late memo today. And we've treated that and analysed that as if it was received within the exhibition period. And again, there are a number of recommendations flowing from that. So we would say that all the matters that we wanted to draw out and make amendments to the document are covered in Friday last week's memo and today's memo. But we're treating all of the submissions as if they were received in the exhibition period.
I might have a follow-on question for you, Director Watson, while you're on screen. The amendments, or I think it was perhaps adjustments that Councillor Kay referred to following on from the submissions, isn't it not true that those have already been supplied to all councillors?
That's correct, Madam Mayor, through memos last Friday and today.
So I don't quite know, Councillor Kay, what you're saying we have to wait on, because we've already received them and the staff have already analysed and assessed the submissions.
Yeah, and there's some adjustments that need to be made, but we wouldn't be able to cite that unless it comes back to us.
No, what Director Watson's just saying is that it's come back to us. We've received them all. They've been emailed to councillors.
But it hasn't adjusted the original document.
Director
the plan of management has not been adjusted with those tweaked recommendations.
Director Watson, I believe we've been given the words.
That's correct, Madam Mayor. We never put words from submissions into any document until they've been adopted by council. So it's our standard practice to present the document as exhibited with a schedule of recommended changes. And we do that in the event that council doesn't want to accept all or wants to add more changes to the final document. So when we do a DCP, for example, or an LEP, we itemise and schedulise the recommended changes, but we never preempt a decision of council and make those changes into a document first.
Which we wouldn't be doing if we deferred it till October anyway. Is that correct, Director Watson?
And not unless the deferral specifically required that to be done. No, we would simply be going through, without preempting what Councillor Kay is alluding to, we would be going through any of the matters raised in the submissions, whether or not staff had recommended changes or not. So you could technically end up with a different list or a lesser or greater list than what staff had presented, yes.
I'll just speak against the amendment because I know that our community has been waiting, as many councillors have been waiting too, for many years to be able to be in a position where a plan of management is presented to the full council with all the detail that we have before us, with all the action plans that have been included in the document. And it really is therefore a platform for us to go ahead and really see the outcomes that we've been waiting to achieve and to be able to fund. And certainly Councillor Smith has addressed some of those aspects. I do see in reading the submissions, and I've been delighted, I must say, to read so many of the comments and suggestions in the quite comprehensive submissions and quite a number of submissions that we've received on this matter. It's very heartening to see the enthusiasm of our community for this very special precinct that Ku-ring-gai is just so fortunate to have. And I think a lot of those submissions contain excellent ideas that will be able to be further explored. But they can't be further explored until we get a plan of management in place. And I think this is where there is confusion in the community, quite understandably, about the difference between a plan of management and a master planning process. And we need the plan of management before we can do the master planning process. Again, could I trouble Director Watson to perhaps explain the difference between what we're doing tonight as a plan of management and where we can go afterwards with a master planning process, and why some of the wonderful suggestions in the submissions are more appropriately addressed in the next phase.
I think you've summarised it very well, Mayor. Through you, a plan of management is really a very, very broad framework within which subsequent decisions of the council will flow. There's 3 paragraphs on page 1.1, the introduction, which sets out what a management plan does. And while we've disregarded, or it appears we might have disregarded in our assessment of submissions, lots of the good ideas that you refer to, it's simply a case that they're not necessarily relevant in a lot of cases to the plan of management process. But that doesn't mean that they don't help provide guidance as to what some of the users and some of the community groups expect from that precinct. So when we first embarked on this process, I said to the staff, this document is to rule as much as possible in and rule as little as possible out, being that this wasn't the place to be having detailed discussions. But I mean, as councillors would be aware, any specific projects or proposals are subject to separate environmental assessment. Sometimes they're subject to a DA. Sometimes they're subject to budget constraints. And in some cases, the council of the day may decide that's not, while the plan of management alludes to it or facilitates it, they may decide that that's not what they particularly want. So, like I said, very broad framework with lots of work to follow. But you're quite right, without a broad framework to make decisions and some action plans and some guidance, there's really no starting point. So the base document we took as a start for this was Council's Destination Management Plan from about 4 or 5 years ago now, where Council had made it very clear at a high level what its vision was for this precinct. And lots of those uses have been going on for years, and in some cases, you know, they may be expanded on or reduced, but that was the starting point for preparation of this document. So yeah, it's in many respects, I would have thought it was quite an inoffensive document, given that it really just lays a pathway or a framework within which subsequent decisions are made by the council.
And Director Watson, perhaps you could also explain that process going forward, because I think some of the concerns raised by stakeholders in the community are that this is the end of a process rather than the start of it, and that they, if their views aren't heard at this point, that there's not going to be further engagement with the community as the detail is discussed.
Yeah. I mean, as you alluded to, Mayor, there will be a subsequent master planning process. I mean, Council last did a master plan for this site about 11 years ago. And fundamentally, that master plan, there's large elements of that still reflected in the current plan of management. Lots of the users have leases and licenses that will exist and continue regardless of what decisions Council makes in a plan of management. I mean, those leases and licenses carry on regardless. as mentioned in the first part of the document, while for the purposes of consistency, we've included all of the lands south of Mona Vale Road in the plan of management, technically they're not subject to the same management processes as the lands to the north. We think it's a document that facilitates decisions around all of the existing users on the site and allows, as we've spoken about many times, greater flexibility and mixed use for some of the precincts. It's fair to say that we are looking to get a variety of users into particular spaces where that doesn't compromise the rights of existing lease and license holders, which we think is, in most cases, imminently possible.
And Director, your starting point is very much the landscape and environmental qualities of the precinct.
That goes without saying, Madam Mayor. I mean, all councillors would know that that's a relatively constrained site, given, you know, EECs, root funguses, users that have been there a long time, bushfire. It's a sensitive location on a busy road, so it's not as if it's open slather, and that's reflected in the relatively narrow list of uses that we've identified for the various precincts within the overall showground area.
Thank you for answering those questions. I just finish up, therefore, by saying that I think all the information has been presented to council. Councillors have seen all the submissions. Councillors have seen the adjusted wording that the staff are recommending. We are an elected council here to make decisions while we have that opportunity. And I know our community does want to see this precinct addressed for the future and for us to, as Councillor Smith has alluded, to get on with things that have been waiting a very long time. So I cannot support an amendment to defer. Are there any other speakers on this? If not, I'll put that amendment first. We must deal with the amendment. All those in favour of Councillor Kay's amendment, that is Councillor Spencer, Councillor Kay, Councillor Nye, Councillor Kelly. Against, Councillors Pettit, Clark, Smith, Chateau, Greenfield, Anderson. That is lost. We resume debate on Councillor Smith's motion. Are there any further speakers on Councillor Smith's motion? Councillor Nye.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to clarify with Councillor Smith. While I'm speaking, I'll just say I'm generally in support of Councillor Smith's. Wait, are we talking? Yeah, we're talking about Councillor Smith's motion now. I'm generally in support of Councillor Smith's motion, but I just want to help clarify for the benefit of the public. When we talk about heritage items that are in a poor state and need maintenance, are we talking about the 13 assets listed on page 19 of the report?
Councillor Smith.
Yes, we are, Councillor Nye.
Okay, cool. And then just follow-up question. Can I see the motion again? Because
yes.
like, I'm okay with the concept, but I just want to see the motion again. What's not clear to me is whether or not we're heritage listing these 13 things straight away, or we're going to consider each of these 13 against the 8 criteria to determine whether or not they need to be heritage listed.
And if you look at G, it says, and subsequently consider pursuing heritage listing where appropriate.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm okay with that approach then. Like, because there's 13 different assets here, each with different levels of, you know, criteria. You might say, look, the Ku-ring-gai Wildfowl Garden Pavilion, we want to heritage list that, but you might say concrete slab number 2, maybe we might not heritage list that for whatever reason. So I'm okay with the approach that's being proposed. I'm happy to support it. I was happy to support the previous amendment as well, but that's gone and passed now. So I'd recommend other councillors to support this as well. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers on this? If not, I'll ask Councillor Smith if he'd like to sum up.
Madam Mayor, I think we've spoken about this enough, and I'd put it to the floor, and I hope to get all the councillors' support on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Therefore, I'm putting Councillor Smith's motion. All those in favour? That is Councillor Pettit, Clark, Nye, Smith, Shatto, Greenfield, Anderson. Against, Councillor Spencer, Kay and Kelly. That is carried. Now, that takes us to Councillors NM1 rates notice. Notice of motion from Councillor Kay dated 30th of July 2021. Councillor Kay, would you like to move this motion?
Yes, so I'll also read the motion.
You may.
Okay. A number of rates notice. A number of councils provide information with rates notices to explain how their budget is spent or where do your rates go. Transparency between residents, ratepayers, has always been a key issue that councillors have been keen to improve. Ratepayers want to know exactly what they are paying for and where that money is going. Some councils across the country have established a way forward with adding extra information to their rates notice so this can be viewed by each resident. This includes one of our neighbouring councils, the City of Ryde, and various other councils. An example is attached to this notice of motion. The where do your rates go information would be tailored for each ratepayer. So the total expenditure of where your rates go would equal the amount paid by the individual ratepayer. Each council may have variants to the naming of these categories. Some noted as an example may include capital works, library, community and cultural programs, insurance, WH&S, audit and civic support, open space, sports and recreation programs, roads, transport, path and cycleways programs, etc. I recommend that this be investigated and tailored to the needs of Ku-ring-gai Council. I therefore move that a where do your rates go leaflet be developed for Ku-ring-gai Council to be sent out with rate notices, that a draft leaflet be brought back to Council for consideration at the September Council meeting with a briefing for councillors to be held prior to enable input on the final product. The recommendation is that the above notice of motion as printed be adopted.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that, please? Seconded Councillor Kelly. Councillor Kay, do you wish to speak to that now?
Yeah, one sec. Okay, sorry, 1 second. Bit disorganised here. Okay, well, this is pretty self-explanatory at the end of the day. Transparency is a key factor to us, to having a trusting relationship between council and residents. This basically provides a tool for residents to be aware of the areas where money is going to be spent or has been spent, should I say. The cost of this is approximately $3,000. If we were to mail each resident, it would be $4,400. But we have approximately 30% of our residents who receive their notices via email. So that's where that reduced cost is. Now, I might, through you, Madam Mayor, just clarify that with Director Marshall, if I may, that those figures are accurate and true.
Certainly, Director Marshall.
Madam Mayor, those figures are correct.
Thank you. Councillor Kay.
Okay, so basically I don't have too much more to say than it is quite transparent. I think at the end of the day, good ideas come from other councils. If there's, I did see another councillor had put it up, and I thought, you know, that's really good. I often get residents that tell me, why haven't you done this project, or why haven't you done this? I think that this is a really good tool, so they can actually see, well, we are spending money, maybe not in the area that you think we should, but we are actually doing stuff with your money at the end of the day. So that's basically it from me. I think, as I said, pretty self-explanatory.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly, a seconder. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you. I'll reserve my right.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Smith has his hand up there.
Madam Mayor, through you to the relevant director, have we embarked in this before in actually sending out this notice to the residents of where the spend goes?
General Manager?
Oh, by the way, I do believe it's a great idea, but I just want to see if we have embarked in this path before.
General Manager.
Madam Mayor and councillors, Ms Leaf could correct me, but I think that we did this about 12 years ago from memory.
Ms Leaf?
Through you, Madam Mayor. We've done it over a number of times, not in the same way that Councillor Kelly is proposing, but, you know, with Ku-ring-gai updates and leaflets that we've sent to councillors in the rates over years, we've shown how money is spent, but not in the specific way I think that Councillor Kay is proposing. But we do give it a go on occasions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Clark. On mute.
Yeah, it's rough. Two questions, Madam Mayor, through you. As a follow-up from Councillor Smith's question, firstly, why did we stop doing these current those programs that we've been running in the past? Well, that's the first question.
Ms Leaf?
Through you, Madam Mayor. It's not that it's stopped, it's just that things change. So the information that goes out in the rate notice might be, say, for this one, in July, it was specifically about the change in garbage service and waste services and about important information about trees. So it's about a different style that we were doing at that time. When we've done bigger updates, where we used to do a big brochure, we would have more information about where money is spent throughout the council, but it's also in the annual report as well.
Okay. Thank you. And I suppose the second part of my question really kind of already is covered by that, but what information do we currently give out through our rates notices? But I suppose that's already been covered. So yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Shatto.
Yes, I'd like to speak in support of this. I think it personalises the bureaucratic view. I know we put this out in our annual report, but this I think involves the person in the work of council in a strange sort of way. You can actually see where your $1,317.67 has gone. You can also see what the emphasis is on council at any particular time. I think it'd be very helpful. And certainly run it for a year or so and see how it goes.
Thank you, Councillor Shatto. I think Councillor Smith, you have a question, do you?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, just a question through to you, to Councillor Kay, if I may.
Yes.
Councillor Kay, when would you propose this notice go out to the residents of Ku-ring-gai?
Yeah, so that's probably, I would have to refer that to Director Marshall, because I believe some people get their annual notices, so they wouldn't take effect because they've already paid their annual fee in full. So it would be these quarterly, but I would have to direct that to Director Marshall in relation to strategically when they get sent out and the commencement of it, if I may, Director Marshall.
Yes, Director Marshall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's two options. The first option is that we send it out in the next rates instalment, which would be, I think, in November. However, if we do that, that means that the ratepayers who paid in full at the start of the year, which is about 15% of our ratepayers, won't receive it. The other complication with sending it out in the next instalment is that by that time, most of the ratepayers will have already paid a quarter of their rates. So they will receive a rates notice, which is a reduced amount for the full year. And then the leaflet will show how their full year's rates are spent. So there'll be two different amounts. So that may introduce an element of confusion. However, it's probably not a fatal error, if you like. So it could be overcome with an explanation or whatever, but it's just something to consider. So two issues about the next instalment. One, it won't go to everyone, and two, the amounts might be confusing. The alternative is to wait until the first instalment next financial year, which would be next July. But it's really, either way could work. It's really a matter for council to consider, to weigh up the pros and cons, and we can do it either way.
Thank you, Director Marshall. Councillor Spencer.
Thank you. I've had my hand up. I just have a question to perhaps Ms. Leave as well as Director Marshall. So the two questions were, one, how much would it cost for us to send this information leaflet out assuming in the next installment? And to Ms. Leave, how much did it cost council the last time we did it? Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the Ku-ring-gai update, which you would have seen in your rates in July, and previously we've done a bigger flyer, it costs in the vicinity of $12,000. I have to, check exactly what it is, but my recollection is about $12,000 for a full colour print A5 publication, which went in last year. This year was an a DL size brochure, which was a bit cheaper.
Sorry, if I may seek clarification as to whether that covers the whole Ku-ring-gai, 12,000.
Yeah, $12,000 covers every rate notice that goes out. It's for the printing of the update. It's for the printing of the brochure.
Okay.
I'm sorry, and the other question to Director Marshall, assuming if we were to send it out in the next installment or in the next financial year, will it be at about the same price as well?
Director Marshall?
Madam Mayor, yeah, so it'll cost about $3,000 to send it out. If we send it out in the instalment, there would be 15% less people, because the people that paid up front in full won't receive it unless we chose to send it to them separately. But I wouldn't recommend that because that would get a bit confusing. So it'll be about, if we send it in the next instalment, it'll be about $3,000. If we send it 12 months later, it would cost another $500 because there'd be more people would be sending it to.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just going to say to perhaps Director Marshall that it may be better to delay the implementation to the next financial year, but in the interim, send out to the residents that this is coming, and so they will understand a staggered amount or whatever. It'll be clearer for them to understand why the numbers may not look as complete as they feel they ought to. So we could send out, coming at the start of the next financial year, an information leaflet about where your rates have been going or whatever, but delay the actual implementation of the numbers until the following financial year.
Is that a question that you wanted to?
Oh, it's just a suggestion, Madam Mayor. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Kelly. I might suggest to Councillor Kay whilst I think it's a great idea, and it's a simpler version, if you like, of a larger piece of information that we've tried in the past, and it is, as Councillor Chateau says, more personalised to the individual ratepayer and what they actually pay as their rates. But Councillor Kay, would you be willing to add to A in your motion the word "with the annual rates notice," so that it does go out to everybody at the same time with the full comprehensive information in it, rather than this confusing, instalment sort of thing?
Yeah, I can't see the harm in that at the end of the day, because it might even cut costs on what Virginia's been doing at the end of the day. Yes, no, that's fine. It's the process and the transparency at the end of the day. I don't want to be adding any additional confusion. It's a process that we're moving forward with. So whether it's today or tomorrow or 6 months, it doesn't matter. So I'm happy to add that, Mayor Anderson.
Could we put it on screen, please?
Yes, we'll just get the staff to do that. It's really only adding the word annual. Or rates notice. Is that satisfactory, Director Marshall?
Madam Mayor, yes, that is satisfactory. If you were to go down that path, it would also be even more satisfactory if you consider in Part B changing the September council meeting to a later date to give us more time. Otherwise, we've only got a couple of weeks to prepare a draft for you.
Just to say September this year.
Councillor Kay, would you be happy to change September to perhaps October?
Yeah, no issues there at all.
And thank you. And Councillor Kelly, as seconder, are you happy with those 2 word changes?
Yes, I'm very happy with that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That's
I do have a question. So through you, Mayor Anderson, to Virginia for
Miss Leaf.
Miss Leaf, yes. Just in relation to emails, my discussions with Director Marshall were there about 30% of people that get their rates notice email. What would that be comparatively to the year before or 2 years before? Are we increasing that email? I'm just looking at the cost. Are there more people opting in for email?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it's really a question for Director Marshall, who does the rates, but I do know that it is increasing all the time, but he might be able to give you some more specific information.
Director Marshall, are you able to assist with that?
Madam Mayor, I don't have the exact numbers, but I do know that email rates notices only started a few years back. So it might have only started 3, 4, 5 years ago. So it's escalated. Yeah, absolutely it has. So I can get you the numbers offline, but yeah, it's definitely increasing.
That's good. So costs will come down.
Yeah, I think it's just basically trying to highlight that the more people that get emails at the end of the day, the more cost effective this becomes in the long run, rather than the flyer that costs $12,000 to distribute to the whole community. Okay.
Definitely. If there are no further speakers on this item, then I'll ask Councillor Kay if she wishes to sum up.
I think we've pretty much covered everything here. I don't have anything additional to say other than I appreciate all your feedback, and it is, working together and getting stuff done. And I just think that this would be a benefit to all of our ratepayers at the end of the day. I do know more and more councils are taking this on as a method of transparency, rather than the council staff or the councillors getting attacked that, money's not being spent. And when you tell them, you don't have money for a big project, it's like, why? I pay my rates. This at least will highlight to them, well, we are spending money. This is where we're spending it at. So I'd appreciate, I suppose, the councillors' support on this one. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put Councillor Kay's motion. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you. General Manager, I think we're up to extra reports circulated to the meeting.
There are none, Madam Mayor.
Councillors, business without notice subject to clause 9.3 of Code of Meeting Practice. None. There are no questions with notice. There are no inspections. So there being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 8:44 p.m. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank
Good
you.
night.